potential of Nick Saban going to the Texas Longhorns. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, I'm certainly not stunned by the report, as stunning as the concept sounds. Why would Nick Saban ever leave Alabama? Wait a second, isn't Mack Brown still the head coach at Texas? Isn't it true that he's not ready to retire? But when you delve a little deeper into what was actually reported, you realize that what has occurred here is that a member of the Texas Board of Regents has inquired about Nick Saban's possible interest in succeeding Mack Brown. So that on the surface is really not shocking, considering people are wondering if and when Mack Brown would be ready to retire, wondering if and when Nick Saban would actually be willing to take on a new challenge. So that conversation having taken place is not stunning. I was certainly pleased to read in the story that Mack Brown was informed about this conversation. So it's not as though he's, getting ready for Kansas State today and was blindsided by this. What we do know is that Mack Brown has said he's not ready to retire, and certainly there is the complete support of the president of the university and the athletic director of the university, but there's certainly some conflict on that Texas Board of Regents, which is a situation that we've seen become ugly in other schools. I think Bobby Bowden in Florida State, Joe Paterno, and Penn State, of course.
Now, Joe, as you said, Nick Saban always welcoming a new challenge, but Mack Brown's current deal does go through the 2020 season. So what are the chances that this actually comes to fruition?
Well, we're so early in the season, and certainly this isn't the first time that folks have wondered if it would be Mack Brown's last year. But, look, this week against Kansas State is critical. Texas has struggled against Kansas State inexplicably in the eyes of many Texas fans over the last few years. In just a few weeks, the Oklahoma game will be more than critical. Can Mack Brown and Texas afford to be blown out by Oklahoma once again? Mack Brown has always said that if and when he believes it's in the best interest of the program to step aside, he would do so. And I think most people do believe that. We're going to have to really see how this change of defensive coordinator in season impacts the team. Mack Brown believes that goal of winning the Big 12 is still realistic. And keep in mind, it's so early in the season that they haven't even played a Big 12 game yet.
Joe, how much of Mack Brown's future in Austin hinges upon this week's game at the house in Austin versus K-State?
I don't think that anybody believes that Mack Brown, a legend, an icon, a guy who turned around a program, won a national championship, brought Texas back to the national championship level, is going to be fired this week, no matter what happens in the Kansas State game. But certainly that would dramatically impact and alter the landscape in Texas and the pressure. I mean, a 1-3 start would certainly be viewed as catastrophic. And I don't know if the Board of Regents are going to try to get back on the phone with Nick Saban's agent, but certainly I think that a lot of folks would, accelerate the planning even further.
Now, Joe, Nick Saban, he has 4 BCS national championships. Mack Brown just 1 to his credit. So how much breathing room does that one crystal ball actually buy Mack Brown in Austin?
He's obviously in the later stages of what has been a great career. I think, a fascinating aspect of this would be how much money would Texas be willing to actually pay Nick Saban? A notion that seems ridiculous at first, but you can't dismiss any notion as truly ridiculous at this point in time based on some of the coaching moves we've seen in the past. Who would think Nick Saban wanted LSU to coach Alabama? Who would think that Nick Saban would leave the Miami Dolphins so quickly, especially after saying that he wouldn't? How much money would it actually take, to get him to go to the University of Texas? And it's really a fascinating situation. It's going to be fascinating to monitor. And I can imagine how pleased Nick Saban is that this story broke at this point in time when he is, of course, pursuing a 3rd consecutive national championship in 4 and 5 years.